Joining us now to add context to the conflict, CBS Sports combat analyst, the king of swing, Brian Campbell. BC, let's begin with that main event. My goodness, a third round for the history books. Volkanovski surviving a pair of tight chokes. Then they trade for 2 more full rounds, but ultimately Volkanovski coming away with unanimous decision. The narrative has long been that he does not get the respect he deserves as a champion, going back to that decision against Holloway. What we just saw, that has to cement the perception of this featherweight warrior, does it not?
There's nothing you can say negative, Joe. Very apt way of looking at it about Volkanovski, who's unbeaten in 20 straight fights, 10 of them in the octagon. And I think what you saw in this one is if you looked at Volkanovski in the past and you said, good fighter, but point fighter, trap fighter, technical fighter. No, he's a warrior for what he endured at a hellacious pace. He got the better of the striking against Ortega, but what you saw in round 3, 2 chokes that are endgame. When Brian Ortega, the grappling submission expert, puts it on you, Volkanovski never panicked. He used his technique. He got out of them. He ended what has to be one of the greatest rounds in UFC championship history on top, landing the bigger blows. The next round later, in round 4, he escaped another choke to rain down big-time shots. This was a gutsy, high-level, high-cardio performance from Volkanovski. And let's keep one thing in mind. I had tweeted ahead of this bout, you got 2 top 10 pound-for-pound guys. This may play out like a chess match, but I'm going to be loving it any other way it goes. We got the any other way. This was as good or great as this fight could have been. And really, Volkanovski, a big part of that. Let's give the champion some respect.
Yeah, they elected to throw that chess table to the side and start trading blows. The pace was frenetic start to finish. A tip of the cap to Ortega for, matching that pace even after that fervent third round. We got to talk about the fight, one fight prior. In a word, dominance of Valentina Shevchenko offered little resistance by Lauren Murphy and BC. I think it's safe to say we've entered this sort of Nunes-like era where we have to ask, who does the UFC put in front of Shevchenko as a true test? She's all but cleaned out the division. What's next for the Bullet?
Yeah, 6 straight title defenses, 125 pounds. This is her division, and there's no one even close. What's next really has to be the name you mentioned, Amanda Nunes, the women's GOAT, the 2-division champion. Nunes holds 2 wins, of course, over Shevchenko. But we all know how contested, disputed their rematch was for the title at 135 pounds. 5 incredible technical rounds. We got to see that a third time. This week, UFC President Dana White said it's something he'd be interested in moving forward. Why do we need to see it if one fighter lost twice? Because Shevchenko came that close against the GOAT. And since that fight, you could argue Shevchenko has been more dominant, evolved her game to a higher level than even Nunes, who, of course, knocked out the great Cyborg to win a title in her 2nd division. I think the performances of late from Shevchenko, you could legitimately rank her as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the female side in the world today, even though she has losses over Nunes, who most people have above her. She's been that great, that dominant, that you might as well do it a third time. If you don't, you're going to continue to see her as a -1,500, -2,000 betting favorite. And oh, by the way, I don't think she got touched on this night against a fighter in Lauren Murphy who was riding a 5-fight win streak. It's Shevchenko and everyone else. Let's go the super fight route there for the Bullet.
Yeah, she carries just a different posture in that octagon, a posture only possessed by one other, and I think that is the fight to make, BC. A really solid card. Can't go without saying here at 266, but much of the marketability, it came with a rematch 17 years in the making. What did you see between Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler? It was a polarizing topic on social media the minute the fight ended. Some applauding Diaz's willingness to get back out there. Others confused by the high volume, low impact of this fight. Really just take me through your range of emotions from entrances to exits here, BC.
Yeah, I had called this, smart matchmaking, fun, nostalgic matchmaking from the UFC. But the problem is whether you're UFC or you're Triller, which puts out very celebrity circus fights, usually involving old fighters. When you go the old fighter route, it can get dark pretty quick. Look, the fans in the arena, a lot of the fans online, they just love seeing Nick Diaz back in a fight at 38 years old, 6+ years removed from his last appearance. What I saw were two guys well past their prime, however. This was an exciting fight, meaning they let their hands go, but defense was out the window. So was power. You saw the dad bod from Nick Diaz. In any other scenario, we may be, let's say, damning Diaz for having a no-mas moment here in round 3, dropped by a hook, just deciding, you know what, I'm done here, as blood flowed from his nose. I think I've seen enough to know that I've seen too much. Nick Diaz is a cult hero, the brother of Nate, a beloved figure. But all his quotes leading up to this week showed that he didn't really seem like he wanted to be in there. Good to him for getting back to this point. But this is not what the UFC is typically about. The best against the best, elite level fighting. This was anything but that. And I think all parties have to kind of be happy that there weren't any injuries. Diaz left the cage on his own power, got the hero's welcome, the hero's send-off. I think it's time he stays away for good.
You know, everything you're telling me here, and you just answered the question. I think I asked you a similar question following Nate's most recent bloodletting back in June. Long removed from their primes, you no longer have an appetite for more Nick Diaz on center stage.
No, I don't. And maybe you blame Triller. Maybe we blame the celebrity Paul brother fights we've seen of late. I've seen a little bit too much of it. I don't want to see Nick Diaz get hurt. He took punches. Yeah, he gave some back. If that's all you came to see, you got a little window of it. But I have no idea how this fight, Joe, was scheduled for 5 rounds when it wasn't a main event, certainly wasn't a title fight. Good on Robbie Lawler snapping a 4-fight losing skid. But even at 39, it seems like his days are numbered as well. Sometimes you can leave a fight 17 years in the making, a rematch. You can leave it be. I don't think we needed this one a second time. Forget everything I said in the lead up to it, please.
I'm right there with you, BC. Whatever the reason you came to this card for, you got one heck of a main event. He's Brian Campbell breaking it all down with us here on CBS Sports HQ. Thanks, BC. Hey, don't forget there's only one place to be on the tail end of every single card and throughout each and every week. Our guys on the Morning Combat take you through all the latest news and notes in the world of combat sports. Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell breaking it down multiple times a week on the Morning Combat.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.